And
Okay, Ankita.
there's also a cat over here who
So,
will
hello everyone. I, Ankita Dutta, project lead for the Stories of India Season 1, welcome you to the inaugural episode titled What India Thinks, reviewing contemporary fiction. So, Stories of India is brought to you by www.tellmeyourstory.biz, a paperless media that works towards popularizing stories from academic research and social significance in collaboration with global thought leaders. Registrations are open for the writing program season 4, the last date for registration being 20th December 2021. Visit www.tellmeyourstory.biz to know more. Well, I'm privileged to have an esteemed panel this evening to discuss the stories from different corners and demographics representing India. I would like to introduce the panelists before we proceed. Meenakshi Reddy Madhavan is the author of several critically acclaimed and best selling novels and one collection of short stories. As a personal project, she has been sending out personal essays via her newsletter, The Internet Personified. She lives between Berlin and New Delhi with her partner and three cats. Kiran here is an Indian author, columnist, and mentor. She has published over 13 books across genres in both fiction and non-fiction. She lives in Mumbai. We also have here with us Madhuri Banerjee, who is the author of 9 best-selling books. Her columns are available across various online and offline media on topics ranging from relationships, parenting, feminism, politics, to erotica and spirituality. She has worked with television, OTT channels, and ad films. She is the screenplay writer for a Bollywood film called Hate Story 2. She won a national award for a documentary she directed and edited called Between Dualities. She has mentored writers and is a common face in literature festivals discussing her books and columns. Madhuri is a motivational speaker, writer, and an avid reader of books that she reviews on her Instagram ID anonymously. She is also a single mother and a tarot card professional. I welcome you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So,
Ankita.
yeah. So, well, Kiran, from a journalist to an author and from romances to thrillers, this incorporates, near about all the publications, let's say, achieved milestones of Kiran Manral. So, as an eye from the other side, uh, I'm kind of the opinion that your age and thus gathered experiential learning must have played a role in making you the Kiran that you are today. So, does that stand true, or do you think otherwise?
Okay, so right off the bat, Ankita, yes, I'm a dinosaur. So, yeah, when you live as
Absolutely.
long as I have, you have enough gained experiential, anecdotal repository to collect from. Yeah. So, why do I write across genres? I think that's what you would like to know. And how does having lived so long into my dotage help me into collecting enough of my stories? See, I read across genres, Ankita. I read a lot. I read very varied stuff. I read from Murakami to Woodhouse to Stephen King. These are my favorite novelists, and you can already see the divide between the humor and the horror and the thriller. So I think that's what informs my writing as well, because I read across diverse kinds of writing. I tend to write diverse kind of thing. It just I've never just consciously decided at any point that this is what I should write. This is a story. I tell stories. All of us tell stories. Madhuri tells a diverse bunch of stories. Meenakshi tells a diverse bunch of stories. So I think for us, the story is what is the crux of the whole thing. And yes, of course, we are cannibals as writers, as authors. We tend to draw upon lived experiences, not just our own, but of those around us. And there's curiosity, there is our own lived experiences, there's the lived experiences of others around us. And it would be unfair not to use all that information and all those anecdotes, right? It would be a waste. So I think we tend to put them all somewhere or the other camouflaged appropriately so that the person concerned doesn't know about it.
Absolutely. So, coming to Madhuri, I would just do a simple evaluation of your, kind of evolution, we can say, that you are like an author with the Bollywood touch, among us at least. So, how would you describe that?
I don't think I have a Bollywood touch. Was given
Kind
an
of.
opportunity, but I was given an opportunity to write a screenplay like many years ago. And I attempted it, and it was a best. It became a super success for them. But since then, I've not really written screenplays. Which have got made into movies. I've written them for myself, and so because I like working on different formats of writing. So it's not just a novel, but like, whether it is columns or whether it's screenplays, whether it's like a tweet, So, I think uh, writing is just something that should just evolve in any case. No, and I don't think Bollywood is the genre though. So, but
No,
I'm not really
yeah,
good with the Bollywood
they say
genre.
like you garnish it with coriander, kind of that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I love Bollywood movies, and so who knows? Like, and I love Bollywood stars, so maybe they will feature in my books someday.
Maybe you'd write for them.
Maybe I'll write for like, yeah. So I have written screenplays, and I hope that they'll get made as well. So let's see.
Yeah, so that's nice. So coming to you, Meenakshi, it's written in your bio actually that you are the author of several critically acclaimed and best-selling novels. So I would like to ask you one, again, simple, I would say, question. What is best-selling according to you? Like, do you always aim for a best-selling novel? Do you
Gosh, I wish I
want
could
to
aim for
only
a
write?
best-selling novel. No, much like the other two, I write what I want to write, I think. And sometimes I've been lucky, sometimes I've been less lucky. But I think, I think the nice thing about my career so far has been I'm pleased with everything that I write. So it's good. How do I define best-selling is a little more complicated. As you may not know, but according to Indian publishing, a best-selling English language novel is anything over 5,000 copies. At least it used to be. Is it still 5,000 copies? I'm
It's
asking
always in a
Madhuri.
state. It's always in a state of flux, Meenakshi. It
Yeah,
depends on who's.
exactly. So, if they sell over 5,000 copies, I'm like, hurrah, best selling. But the thing is, I don't really aim, if I could aim to write, the markets are so weird, and writing is a bit like a lottery. You put something in that you're proud of and you worked hard on, and you think it's a good story, and you think people will enjoy reading it, and there's crickets. And then you write something that you're like, okay, this is interesting, but maybe not the best thing I've ever done in my life, and that just does really well. So it's a toss up, really. It's like playing with a slot machine.
It's kind of like lottery,
Absolutely, that's true. Some of the books that
yeah.
one really
So
thinks won't do too well go on to do very well, and the others are like, what went wrong?
Exactly.
yeah, so moving on, I would like to ask, since we were talking to Meenakshi already, so let me ask you, just blunt one. What was your story of your personal and professional growth? Your own story,
Growth, as in.
as a writer, as an author, as in your life.
So back in the day, perhaps before you were even born, Ankita, I'm so old. There was uh,
Again,
we
a
used
dinosaur. Age.
No, she's not.
Meenakshi.
we
She's
used
a
to have.
child.
I used to write a blog. Do you know? I mean, it was a good blog. It was called The Compulsive Confessor, and for a while I ran it anonymously, talking about my relationships and what I was doing as a single woman in the city. And that blog got really popular. Like, I mean, we didn't have the word virality then, but in terms of modern day parlance, it was a viral blog. And so, thanks to that, I got a book deal from Penguin, which led to my first book, which luckily I'd been writing for many years, so it wasn't like a surprise. I mean, it was a surprise to be asked, but it wasn't a surprise to have to finish something. I already had something, and then from then I'd always wanted to be a writer. It was just since I was 16 or 17, I've been telling people how I want to write books for a living. I want to write books for a living. Before that, I wanted to be like a naturalist and a vet for a while. But then I realized there's too much science and maths involved in those things. So I was like, okay, what can I do and do well and will not involve any science or mathematics? Writing. Hey, so then from that first book grew the rest of my career. So each book, I think I do maybe one every 2 years or one every year or something, and I feel like it's easy, like Kiran was saying about moving across genres. It's a good way to challenge yourself as a writer when there's no, I mean, unlike a corporate job, I don't know where my next promotion is or how I'm going to climb the ladder or something. But at least with if I switch up storylines and write different things each time, I know that I'm growing and evolving as a writer and as a person with each individual book.
That was nice. So, same for you, Madhuri. I mean, how would you say that you became the Madhuri Banerjee that you are today?
That I'm today was that,
Yes.
that I'm today. I think we all changed quite a bit over the last
I
two
mean, what
years.
could be,
Actually, I feel like
yeah,
haven't we all like kind of changed over? I think we've evolved a lot more in the pandemic than we have over the last I think decade. So I think I've evolved much more now. I think I'm sure you must have as well. So I mean, when I was writing novels, I was just really happy doing that, and then I think growth for me is trying different things that scare me. So I took up a corporate job. I write a screenplay. Um, you know, to go into territories that I feel that I just don't have any qualifications for. And try and attempt it. And I know that if I fail, that's fine. It's perfectly okay. Because as a single mother, all I want to do is tell my child that go do as many things as possible in life. So whether I'm like so I can write my novels and whatever that you want to write, and I think all of us has a novel inside us at any given point of time. Now it's just discipline that you actually sit down and write it out. And I know that Kiran has a lot of discipline because she's written 13 books. Okay, I have no discipline. Okay, it's like none. So the people say, oh, I'm like I wait for inspiration, so which rarely comes. Okay, so you know so growth is very for me it's just like, okay, now I've done this. Even in my writing, how do I challenge myself with not a different genre, but with a structure or with a character, or like in forms of tonality. And since I have been labeled a chick lit writer, an erotic writer, then like how do I improve that? And earlier I didn't want to, even call myself that. But when you're stuck with labels, then you're stuck with labels. So then there you go. So, and I think women are always stuck with labels. Men can jump from being anything that they want, from non-fiction to this writer and that and thrillers and mythology. They can do whatever that they want. But if a woman has written a book, and they will expect you to write the same book repeatedly, and if God forbid you want to change and do something different, then breaking that mold is also a growth that I think we all have had.
yeah,
Can I add something to this?
Sure.
First of
yeah,
all,
sure.
Madhuri, I want to know about your tarot card life. I want to know more about how you're a professional tarot card reader. Secondly, I've been thinking about this, how women have a hard time of breaking out of, writing one thing or the other. And then I realized that one of my biggest inspirations is Margaret Atwood, who writes really whatever the fuck she wants to write. She's like, let me write science fiction, let me write this, let me write that, let me write about girl friendship. So I'm like, fine, if Margaret Atwood can do, Maggie can do it, I can do it, basically.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why even with tarot,
Say that only.
I was even
Yeah, the
with tarot,
handmaid's tale.
I was like, okay, this is I love the occult and like astrology, and I go and I've been to a lot of astrologers and stuff, and I said I can do this. So I actually took a course in tarot card reading, and I had a tarot card reader who taught me like 2 hours of 13 sessions, and then I practiced and I learned every single day, and yeah, so now I read tarot for different people as well. So yeah,
Cool.
my side hustle.
Yeah, that was actually a question of mine, that how would, I mean, tarot help you evolve as a writer? So, since you were already asked, could you just, give us the brush up?
As a writer, one of my books, Tarot Tina, has a lot of tarot in it as well. So
Yes.
and it's about a girl who reads tarot cards, and she wants to be taken seriously in a world where it's not seen really importantly. This tarots, tarot cards, and so it's a book that's so I mean it has evolved from like actually reading to writing about it. And I think there are days when I'm feeling upset or depressed, and tarot cards really help me to like see the way forward, because they just kind of like tell you, there's maybe sometimes you need to hold on really tight or let go, or just kind of be more productive. So the cards really read a lot of the energy that I have for myself, as well as when I'm reading for others, I can read their energies and predict things as well. So that does help in my
So that,
writing.
so that is connected. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
So,
connected.
yeah. So, moving on to Kiran, I'd like to, ask you, do you have any sort of particular incident that, made you into uh, a person who would like to write? I mean, you were a journalist, so why did you, think that I'd just write, become an author?
Uh, Ankita, there is this famous uh, there is this thing about Indian moms. We had Amy Chua write about the tiger moms, who was the Asian mom, but we also have Indian moms. So I have a mom. We all have a mom. And my mom, in some distant past, when I was a child writing very bad poems and very bad stories, has preserved them all. And she could probably blackmail me with them someday and say I'll give them. So she had taken it into her head when I said one day I want to be a writer, and that had settled in her head like one little kida. So every year, religiously, she would ask me, "When are you writing your book?" And every year, I would fob her off. I'm terribly important. I'm working for Times of India. I'm features editor at Cosmo. I'm doing falana, falana. I'm too important. I'm having a baby right now. I don't have time to be a writer. But she persisted, every single year she was, "When are you writing your book? When are you writing your book?" And finally, I was about to turn 40, and she said, like, "When are you writing your book?" And I said, "Hell, I'm 40 now. I bloody better write this book, or she's going to chase me to the grave with this statement." And that's how my first book came along. So I put it down to a very persistent mom and two dear friends, one of whom, Parul Sharma, is a published writer, and the other, Priyanka Chaturvedi, is now in the Rajya Sabha, and I'm very proud of her. So they kept hounding me because, like Meenakshi, I also had a blog, a parenting blog, and a fair amount of readers and people kept saying, "You should write a book, you should write a book," and I never took it seriously. But these two were the ones who sat on my case, and Parul was like, "You have to do 500 words every day and send me your 500 words." And, like they hounded me until I got it done. So I owe the books to them, not to me. Left to me, I would have done nothing.
So, yeah, you can tune it down to mom's magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mom's magic, mom's harassing, and two friends who made sure I got the work done.
Yeah, so that was nice, though. I mean, something very different. Because you might have incidents that might inspire you, but having friends and family is quite a nice one. Yeah. So, moving on, the controversy, that theme. I mean, I don't know who would like to go first. Yeah, it's
Which
just
controversy and what
it's a
controversy?
normal
What's the
one. How do
controversy?
you deal with controversial themes? I mean, do you think of writing about controversial themes, or you think that no, I'll not write about anything like that? Or do you like to, I mean, do you prefer reading books that deal with controversial themes. Themes about controversy can be anything like about
I'll tell you,
something.
when I was writing my first book, I really didn't think of the controversy that would surround it later. So my first book was Losing My Virginity and Other Dumb Ideas. So, and this came out in 2009. And I was writing it. And I didn't think that the word virginity was going to cause so much of controversy then, because what I really just wanted to do was open the dialogue for women who are supposed to be virgins till they get married, right? So my book was about a woman who was a 30-year-old virgin. So she was not an 18-year-old virgin or a 24-year-old virgin. She was a 30-year-old virgin in my book. But the controversy that came out later, um, which it was like, how could you use such a word? And we are Indians and we don't talk about these things. And I got a lot of. I mean, there were no women. Women were like, oh wow, this is cool, you know. But men. Were why would you say these things? And there was a lot of controversy at that point of time, but the controversy actually helped make it a bestseller as well, so I'm really thankful for that. So it
Yay.
had pros and cons, and it sold over 1 lakh copies, and I was just like, wow, okay. And I was like, let me start using like more words, which will be like happening. So my next book was like mistakes like love and sex, you know. So I was like, let me try more stuff, and that fell flat. So controversies don't really help for too long, So it doesn't matter what you write, and what surrounds it. So it's my
So, do you like
story.
reading? I mean, any one of you, do you like reading stuff that would, I mean, carry or write about controversies right
I mean,
now? Or
I don't think that a lot of things are controversial for me personally. I know that people take a lot of things very seriously. For example, I had a similar book experience with my first book, as Madhuri did. But I mean, I wrote about sex and partying and stuff. And the number one objection the men of India had to my heroine was that she smoked too many cigarettes. They were like, "Why is she cigarette smoking? Why is she cigarette smoking?" I was like, "Come on, yeah. I mean, what can I do now to help you?" And with my other books, one was about a child of divorce, and she was half Hindu and half Muslim. And I wanted to talk about how that affected her when her very traditional grandmother from her father's side moves in. And I wrote two books retelling the Mahabharata from the point of view of young women. And at that point, I got some questions from my readers saying, "Aren't you afraid of what's going to happen if you say all these things?" And I was like, the people who are going to get offended are not going to read my books anyway. They don't read. So it doesn't matter. I can just say whatever I like at this point. And with my newest book, which is not out yet, I have touched on abortion and divorce. So, there's all sorts of things going on. I mean, these are just the things I like to read about. So it makes sense for me to write about them. Not a lot of things, like I suppose what I would call a controversial book would be, say, I don't know, if I read historical fiction from the point of view of a Nazi, that would be controversial for me because why are we sympathizing? Like, is it going to be a sympathetic character? How do we feel about this? That kind of thing. Or something that I guess I find that very often controversy is used as a catch-all phrase for when someone has just told the truth. And I mean, I like to read books that reflect what society is like. So I guess, yeah, I do read a lot of books that are controversial, quote unquote.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yes,
quite agree
my
with what Madhuri and Meenakshi have to say. I think my first book was about, on the surface of it, it was about a bored housewife trying to find out who killed somebody. But if you look through it, it's about how women are pressured to leave their jobs and to leave their careers because of, lack of proper childcare support, and it's actually social commentary. There's a book I wrote which was Missing Presumed Dead, which is about a woman with mental illness and how she suddenly one fine day abandons her two children, and that was very. People were rather upset about that. How could she just walk out of home and leave her children behind? There was a face at the window where the woman is an illegitimate orphan, and she herself goes on to have an illegitimate baby. So I don't seek to be controversial. In my latest book, More Things Than Heaven and Earth, she's a widow, but she has sex. One of the comments on my Amazon is that she has sex. She's a widow. So, so she's like a woman, and not just a one man, but two men. How could this happen? So
At the
I'm not
same
setting out
time.
different type, but not that.
Yeah,
That's what
write
that's
that
what I
down.
was
Next, that should be, yeah.
next. Yeah. That's a plot. So, set out to be controversial. You're just writing true stories of women's lives from the viewpoint of being a woman, from the gaze of being a woman, from knowing what a woman thinks and what a woman can do. And this is counter to what is expected of a woman, and that becomes controversial. That's what disturbs people, and that's what makes them a little offended. Like, how could a 30-year-old think of losing her virginity? Why not, man? She should have lost it a long time back. These kind of things. We're not seeking to be controversial, but as Meenakshi said, these are stories, and we need to read them as stories, and we need to read them as something that holds a mirror to the truth. And that's if that makes it controversial, well,
I
well
think
and
we
good.
all write about stuff that we know, that we've seen, that we've experienced at some level, and we've spoken about. And I think, all three of us, with all our books, do speak something about the society. It's not just, like, hey, this is a plot, or this is a character, or this is a story, kind of a thing. We are trying to hold a mirror to society, and maybe what's could be wrong with it, and maybe what could improve on it, or maybe just something about. I mean, I've written about same-sex relationships, and I've written about threesomes, and I've written about everything that uh, is happening. We live in India, where I in this century, so it's it is controversial at some level, but it's actually just the truth, and as Meenakshi said, most of the times people just can't accept the truth about relationships and about people and about choices, and especially female characters' choices, because they believe that they have the power to control women. I mean, and therefore women's choices should be limited. And I think that's what's creating more controversy in today's India, because women are not supposed to be given so much of choice, and especially if you speak anything about religion, that's also controversial. So anything is controversial in today's India, actually. You can just like throw a
It's
stone and
it's
We're
yeah,
yeah,
tap
it's not
dancing in a minefield these days.
yeah, it is. Everything is controversial. Yeah.
Oh,
kind of. So, since you were already talking about, Amazon, I mean, the comments that come on Amazon and all of that. So you all have quite a great following on social media that uh, I mean, I was tagging you also. I saw that. So the thing is, does that affect your readership? I mean, the unpopular opinions that come on your social media, maybe such harsh comments, I'd say, or maybe negative opinions that people post on maybe Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, that, your book, this book deals with this, which I don't like, or this is not acceptable in today's world, or something like that. If this sort of opinions they come up, do they affect your readership or all over?
See, positive opinions don't help your readership on social media, nor do negative opinions, because nobody who reads books, will take their opinion from social media. They will take their opinion from friends who are readers, whose opinion they trust. They will take it from reviews of books in noted
The
publications. They will
sites,
take it,
yeah.
yeah. So, social media plays. I don't know why is there this fallacy that having a huge social media following will help your books. It does nothing. It actually really does nothing to you. for your books. You can shout every single day about your book, but nothing will happen. Things will only move when one reader tells another reader, pick this book, read this, it's a good book. So, so either way, I don't think that social media trolling, and they don't troll you for your books, Ankita. They will troll you for your opinions. They will troll you for other stuff
Where are
apart.
they reading books anyway?
They
Like,
aren't
so
reading
you know,
books. Yeah,
the people who
Yeah.
will troll, they don't troll for like because they are readers. If they were readers, they would never troll.
they wouldn't troll. Well
Yeah,
said.
they just caught up something that's not according to them right. Yeah. So then, like, I would like to ask Madhuri one question. You're well read on mythology. This I would readily say that Coral ma'am had asked me that you are, very well read in mythology, but you haven't written anything about it. So why? And then she wants me to ask you
No,
why.
no, no. That is because I told her some Vikram and Betal story. Okay. And I'm not a well mythology person. I like reading different genres. Okay. But for me to actually write mythology, it's not possible because it just I don't know enough, and I feel that like as a writer one must do tremendous amount of research to even write, right? So even the characters that we're writing, so even if I'm writing a romance novel, right, so if I'm writing about a scenario or a character, whoever, it does take a bit of research for me to just dive into the person's character and do like the backstory and all of that really well. So with mythology, that requires tremendous amount of like fact checking and all of that, and that's not something. Yeah, that's I would not go into it at all. I can tell the mythology stories like verbally, orally to people and friends because they'd be like really, and I'm like absolutely because this confidence, But writing about it means I'll have like five like people who will come up and say, "Hey, that's not true," not in this version. So I don't do it. I leave that to others.
So, yeah, that would be, safer to do. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, we'll play safe. So, like, if you, all of you, have, quite a lot of time, like leisure time, you're not writing anything or you're not doing anything much, constructive in your life for maybe some months, uh, what new themes would come up to you? Like, what would be something new that you would like to write? Or maybe think about when you are having your leisure, enjoying your time.
Leisure.
Leisure. I have lots
Leisure
of
is
Murder,
a
leisure,
very
right?
loaded.
murder. I would really like to,
You say
I
that, but
think
I finished a murder mystery. It's sitting in my documents folder, and I have not been able to look at it since.
I'm just like it, and I'm saying that I just like like because I'm supposed to write about romance, and then like my brain is churning on thrillers. So like, oh, I've moved here, I've come here, I've met this person. Like, what would happen if that fellow just died? Okay, so I have like this constant. Like, okay, go to a restaurant and I see somebody and they're not wearing a mask, and then I'm like, suppose he goes to the loo and
What?
I kill him. Okay, so what would happen? Who would know? How would I poison him? I'm constantly thinking of
That
murder.
would be gory.
It's the pandemic. I'm telling you, it has chewed my brain cells.
All of us, all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would it?
I
What
have
about
some
you,
super
Meenakshi?
ambitious. I have some super ambitious historical novels. I'm like, huh, like one day, maybe like in 5 years or 10 years, I'll bang those out. But for now, no. For now, I'm sticking with literary fiction. I think, yeah, it's set in the here and now, a period which I know much about because I'm living it.
Nice.
Yeah.
What would I
So,
write? I think dystopia. I think I'm already veering towards it in my short stories. So
uh,
dystopia,
it's a
fly-fi,
nice, it's a nice
because
genre.
it's something that interests me and disturbs me as a parent. So I think I'm exploring that a little.
And it somewhat connects to the reality also. Like if we go to Atwood and everyone, Orwell and all, It connects to the reality somewhat at times. So,
Yeah, they were soothsayers, back then. Orwell, he wrote.
what Orwell said, yeah, really,
Yeah,
it's kind of that we can connect it to Madhuri's tarot card.
Yeah.
1948, yeah, it's like a tarot card.
1984.
Yeah, 1984, it's like a tarot card. Yeah. So,
I could predict it. Good for
huh.
you.
Yeah, it came out in 1948 and it was
Ah,
1984, but it's
correct.
kind of, going on still. Yeah. So,
Yep.
then, since we were talking about lots of books that you have read, that you have written, that you might like to read, you have it in your list of books that you would read in the future or something like that. As voracious readers, what would you say about the changing dimensions of literature and the literary world? I mean, what is changing? Are readers changing? Are their perspectives changing? What is influencing them that this change is happening?
See, the more things change, the more things remain the same. I think that holds true for reading as well. We in the past we had what was called light writing, which is now our Jane Austen and our classics. So whatever we sneer down on right now, I think one fine day will become our classics in the future. Some of them I hope not, because let's but what are people reading? What are people writing? I think in the past, in the pandemic, no one has had any brain space or any mind space to do much reading. To be
Mm.
honest, we've been so, I mean, we've been living out a dystopia. So in the past 2 years, I think we need to really figure out where we are heading as readers, where we are heading as writers. There's been this entire bunch of reading that has been escapist and cathartic. There's been this entire bunch of reading that has been grimmer and dystopian. So I think somewhere between the two is where the truth lies. That's what I feel.
I think what is
Meenakshi.
happening is that with publishers, um, they are trying to find the next best big selling debut novel.
Huh.
Okay.
Mm.
So
Uh,
I feel like I think there's like a manhunt, like that is like out there for not regular authors. They're like, okay, fine, we'll just publish. Maybe we'll figure out. We don't know, whether it'll work or not. But it's a serious like fight that's going on for finding the next new, you know, like hotshot author of like from India, from South Asia. So and it's so then they're like picking out the first time manuscripts that will be probably published, and so then they will probably, and they have been doing this for some time with a few books that have now become critically acclaimed, and um, I won't name them, but they are in like best-selling lists and things like that, where um, it's it's been like great writing and like for the author, and now finally like that author is like one novel down, and people will buy that book and read that book because it's been hyped up so much
Mm.
to be read. So I think the reading that is happening nowadays is of the next best thing or the new big thing that is there, so what is most popular, and it's not something that should be encouraged too much is what I believe. So I believe that I think new authors should get their opportunities for sure, but they shouldn't be hyped up because then their second and third novels um, will be a lot of pressure on them. So
there, Madhuri has put the cat among the pigeons.
that's a controversy now.
Uh, as for me, I think the biggest change I've seen in the last 10, 15 years is I'm having a hard time finding new books to read because, as Madhuri is saying, there's a lot of hype. I mean, I don't know how to separate the noise from what's good books. Back in the day, we used to have like books pages. I used to trust the reviewers. people said something about a book, I'd be like, okay, I trust you. Now it just seems like there's just so much going on. There's so many people, and they must, of course. It's very nice when people's friends say nice things about them, but I don't know whether they're friends or not their friends, and why they're saying a book is nice and not nice. I feel like I'm depending more and more on algorithms of Goodreads and Amazon and stuff to throw me like good books as opposed to actual people. And this is really bothering me because I feel like, okay, if this is the case for me, a dedicated reader who goes out there and finds books, as you can see, massive library behind me, how are people going to find the things that I'm writing? Because there's just books pages are getting smaller and smaller, review spaces are shrinking. People say bookstagram, but Indian bookstagram is just people posting a blurb of the book,
Oh,
really. It's not
and a
even like a
photograph.
review. Yeah, it's not even a review. I don't know whether the book is good or bad or evil or whatever, because it's just, it's hard. So that's what's changed. I think we're doing a lot more. I think there are a lot more books coming out, and that's great. I'm glad that writing has become a viable, or at least a career for people. But I think something's gonna give eventually, where the bubble is going to burst in publishing somehow, and maybe we'll all be able to once again, she says, like a sour grapes, find books that we actually want to read.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm into that.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
absolutely.
Because
It's just
I've actually like read so many of the books that I actually, I mean, like whether I'm a huge reader and I keep on putting it on Twitter and like read more books, read more books, read more women. I am just like every second day I'm just half my Instagram feed is on books and drinking coffee. So and it's like read women and read more books and buy books even if you don't read them. So but and most of the times I've not even put up the books that I've finished reading is because like it's just that I finished reading all the books that have come out and I'm like these seem so pointless. By the end of it I'm so angry that I have spent like say two
How much
weeks
time?
reading the book,
I did some
and
after
it's
50
not
pages.
you
I
leave.
do that.
I,
Yeah.
I'm just
yeah,
like, bye.
I live.
I finished the whole book and I'm like, this has won an award. Okay.
Life is too short to read
What
bad
what
books.
am I missing? And it is really exhausting. And I'm just like, I just want regular people writing regular things. Like give me those books. And I wish there were more people like Meenakshi and Kiran would have more books coming out because that's what I love rather than like all these
I
hype.
have a really good Bookstagram account where I actually put honest reviews of books. You should follow me
I will. I follow you anyway. So
on Bookstagram, not regular Instagram. It's called Minna
okay,
Reads.
okay, I'll do that.
yeah, found that. The other one is yeah. When I was searching you, two accounts they propped up.
Mm.
So Madhuri, what kind of coffee goes well with books? That could be a question for you. I
I
mean,
drink strong South Indian filter coffee that I
filter
make at
coffee.
home. Yeah, with very little milk, or it is black coffee. So, but any coffee goes with books. Just buy books. Is
Books.
my just buy them. Okay, just put like I just feel like everybody should have their full Instagram pages of having a coffee and a book, whether you drink coffee or don't, or you read the book or don't. Just buy a book. Is
Yeah.
my
I, I mean, we are okay even if there's wine and books. It doesn't have to be coffee.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
wine. Can I go with
Yeah.
the wine? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Or a
Just
glass of
have the book
water.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Have it.
Or
anything.
like
Have it
all
with
my
tea
childhood
also.
books have like food all over them, all my kids' books, because I've been eating and reading the entire time.
Yeah,
Nice,
like me,
nice.
I have a few friends who post a lot of tea with books. I mean, like chai and books. So that
chai,
is also
coffee,
there.
wine, anything.
Ah,
Just have a drink and
just
read a
have,
book.
just
I think
buy
that's the
books.
best time.
Buy
Okay,
books.
so my only problem about this coffee tea book composition, maybe one of you can share a light on it, is how when you while by the time you're done composing, doesn't your drink get cold?
Of course. Then you have to go warm
Uh,
it up again.
Hmm.
It's too much effort.
No, it's
Actually.
I know someone who uses a flask for that. I mean, like he has this in flask. And it's
Ah,
quite intelligent.
smart.
So yeah,
Yes.
that way I had asked actually. So it was said that yeah, because they grow cold, it grows cold and it tastes very bad. So I'll just uh maybe a pint kind of a thing. He would just take it. It would be hot
You should
and
have now have beer and books.
Ah,
that would be chilled. So yeah, moving on maybe towards kind of the last segment that I would ask you your reading recommendations to our audience. One of your work and one of your contemporary. So let's hit that. One yours and
One.
one contemporary that you
One.
would like
Only
your
one.
audience.
one.
Can we
Only
just not
one.
say all?
The best
All our
one.
books are great.
Yeah.
No, the best one maybe that you
No,
No.
no best
remember
one.
forever. That you'll take with you to your grave. That book.
I'll take them
Uh,
all to my grave. All my babies are like
Burn
my book
this book
babies.
with me. I want to read it in my afterlife. One
You
like
guys
that.
go
so,
first. I don't want to go
guys, go
first. I'm going to
first.
decide.
Okay.
Okay.
Kiran.
So I'm going to go with my latest More Things in Heaven and Earth because it is my latest book and it needs more readers. So it's not the that's the very simple reason.
Yes, that's
I'm
nice.
going to talk about Madhuri's book Scandalous Housewives. You must read it. It's wonderful. It's a fun read. Meenakshi's books You Are Here I loved. So these are two books, guys. Please pick up and read.
No, see, she's
And
done it for the work for me only. So
Yeah,
I don't have
no.
You
to.
did all the other books. No, I
I
gave the
was just
first one.
resume dead because I'm the face in the window. Those two I really liked, and you are here. So
I'm
read
into Missing
when
Presumed Dead as
my
well.
baby. Yeah, so when my baby was born, like I think somebody had come to meet me and they'd given me this book, Meenakshi's book, and I was like, "Thank you for not giving me baby food," and like because I'm stuck at home, and like
I'm really glad to have kept you company through that period.
yes, and you are a true friend. And I was just like, and you're up at night and you're alone and like, and I was like, that book was so lovely. And I was like, that's what you want to read, and not like nonsense, baby nonsense. So, that was a really good book. So, yeah. And I would also say Preeti Shenoy's The Magic Mindset, which is her
No.
latest nonfiction book. So that's a really good book as well, which is a nonfiction. So
Guys, I was going to recommend George Eliot and all. Huh? So it's
No,
I
no.
like,
knew you can
Go
always.
ahead. Recommend anything. Go ahead.
uh,
I
let
was
me
just
check.
like, but read like, I think if you have to prioritize reading, people who are listening to this, first read our books. Between us, I have eight. How many? Kiran, you have 13. And Madhuri, how many do you have?
Nine.
9.
9.
So how
Nine.
many is that total?
Lots of books.
Yeah, lots of books. So that once you're done with that stack, then I would
Around
recommend
30. Around 30.
once you're done with those, then I would recommend Middlemarch, which I read during the pandemic, which kept me company and was a nice little small town life, but no corona was happening and lots of people being really mean to each other. It was great. So I really loved it. Um, yeah, that's my rec.
I also
Yeah,
liked
and
Orienting by Pallavi Iyer
yeah,
Oh, I've
recently.
been
great,
wanting to
fun.
read that.
It's a
That was
great
that
read.
was fun also. Yeah. And I feel
Madhuri,
like
I want to read your virginity book just because of the whole controversy about the whole virginity thing. I think that now I'm just going to get it for my Kindle
yeah,
tonight.
good tiny. Thank you. Good.
It is already sold over 1 lakh copies, and we would now contribute to that.
Thank
I
you.
know, exactly. And Kiran, I'm going to get your new book tonight also. Now, see, this very nice thing about this talk is that it reminds me of new authors, well, old new authors I want to acquire.
Oh,
Great. Great.
So
No, I
after
don't mean
this,
old new authors. I mean old authors, as not age wise, but books wise, who have produced new books, not like your actual age, which we've already established is great and advanced.
absolutely. So let me just get back to the after 30 books. Please read if you haven't ever read before and you need joy in your life. Please read Terry Pratchett. Please read P.G. Woodhouse. Please read Neil Gaiman. Who else am I missing? Uh,
Only men you've said.
oh,
Give one woman also.
funny
Elif
writer,
Shafak,
Elif
Nadia
Shakar.
Hashimi.
No, I didn't like Elif Shakar. That 40 Rules of Love made me very annoyed.
Uh-huh.
Very
Yeah,
angry.
she has other books which are nice.
J.K.
Nina
Rowling.
Stips. Nina
Yes.
Stips is really funny.
Yeah, Steps. Then, which was the other one I read recently, which I really loved? Shit,
I
man.
like Friedrich Backman's Anxious People. That was a
Yeah,
really fun
really.
book. And
Uh,
Matt Haig's The Comfort Book. That was
I
really
don't like
fun.
Matt Haig so much. Matt Haig, I find him a bit.
So The Comfort Book is not a fiction. So
Oh, okay, fine. That's good then. Huh.
no. And there was, of course, from the ancient past, there's Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre, my first feminist manifesto. Please, a
and
woman does
also
not.
Chimamanda Nochi Adichie.
Yes,
Yes.
we are all
I really
feminists.
like,
Yes.
yeah, I really like her.
Elizabeth Jane Howard and the Cazalet Chronicles. They're very good.
Yes.
5 books in all. So that's 30
Yes.
plus 5.
35.
Lots of recommendations coming your way. Cheryl
Yeah,
Strait, Tiny
yeah,
Beautiful Things, Life
yes.
Oh, yes.
Manifesto,
And Wild also. That
Wild,
made me weep
Wild.
Yeah.
like crazy.
The power of the subconscious, of your subconscious mind, is something that I feel like a lot of people may need to read. It came out long time back, but I think it is a lovely book that actually helps you overcome a lot of things in life. And so the power of your subconscious mind is something that I would recommend too.
And a very good humor writer who isn't really read, I think, Aruna Nambiar. I must mention her books. She's hilarious. I think she needs more attention.
You
I have not.
recommended Anuradha Roy, and I really liked her as well.
Folded
Mm.
Earth Spinner, I haven't read, but Folded Earth is one of my
Folded Earth is
favorites.
lovely.
Even the other one, the last one about the
Atlas.
painting, the one about the mother going missing. I forget the title.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've got it on my shelves over here only. I don't
The
know.
beautiful cover with the paints.
Haha, yes. Uh, all that
All,
something something.
all
All
that
the
we leave behind or something.
something
Okay,
like that.
you
Yeah,
can Google it. Anuradha
Yeah,
Roy.
I can see
Roy.
it.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful writer.
Yeah, you've got so
So
many
the
recommendations.
That's a lot of
recommendations.
recommendations now.
There's a basket full of recommendations. So
Half
the
hampered.
we will
We could go on and on with
so
the recommendations.
Yeah, we
We
could.
could.
We could have just had this entire
We
discussion
have
just on
to.
books to read.
Yeah.
that should be another, I mean, discussion about like the books we love to read.
By women
And-
writers.
True.
so I mean, your just the ending note that you all would give about reviewing contemporary fiction. That is what we are doing today, reviewing contemporary fiction. So we've talked a lot about controversy. We've talked a lot about feminism, like how female authors and male authors there's a distinguish. I mean, they're distinguished. So all of that we have talked about, how would you just sum them up and review contemporary fiction that is happening, not only in India, but pan India and all over the world?
Who goes first?
It's a heavy question. It's
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
quite a
like
loaded question. It needs a keynote address, not a ending
yeah,
note.
exactly.
So I'll just
Reviewing
say,
contemporary
yeah,
fiction.
I would
Go,
just
go.
say that what I feel is if a book speaks to you, if it tells you a truth, and it tells it to you without sermonizing, without moralistic preaching, without anything, if it just affects you in some way that this is a real experience, a lived experience, it changes your thinking in some way, that is a book to be read and to be talked about. If a book is pure escapism, pure catharsis to read and fun to read, well and good. If a book does nothing to you, even if it is the most hyped book around, please say that out aloud also. So, we don't always have to be nice to books that other people are being nice about. And if a book is not being spoken nicely about, but it's nice for you, talk about it. It's okay. Everybody is different. So that is my criteria or my yardstick for judging contemporary fiction. Okay, everybody.
I'm gonna add a note for writers at this point. I feel like if you're a young person trying to get into writing, don't follow whatever themes that you think are going around, because those are always wind up falling a little flat if you don't have an actual story to tell. If you feel like your story fits a theme, but the thing is, these things are fickle. Publishing changes. The year spins round and something else is like the hot new thing. So you need to basically do what you always wanted to do, and if you can, you can maybe say this is the theme of, I don't know what's big this year, mothers and daughters. This is the theme of mothers and daughters, or this is the theme of Brexit, or this is the theme of India's new politics, that kind of thing. Maybe you can make it fit, but it's always obvious to a reader when you're doing the other thing around, when you're writing the book to fit the theme as opposed to the other way around. So that is my advice.
So, we would end with Madhuri. What do you think?
I would say buy more books. I think I would like contemporary or classics or non-fiction or whatever that it is there. I would just say whether it is from Amazon or a bookstore or wherever, buy more books and please take that little extra effort and go to Goodreads or the Amazon site or whichever and just leave the stars that you feel are adequate for the book, or leave a review or whatever that you're choosing, because the whichever author, whoever has put in a lot of effort in writing that book, publishing that book, marketing that book, pitching that book, sitting and being lonely while doing that continuously and praying and hoping for somebody to appreciate it. And we all, at any level, need some appreciation. And whether it is contemporary fiction or non-fiction, just appreciate as much as you can, because we've come out from a really bad pandemic world. We're all struggling to write and be and do something with our lives, and it would be kind to buy books and leave reviews. That's my thing.
Yeah, so buy books before everything turns into, I mean, these electronic screens. So do, yeah, that is a nice thing to,
Watch
um,
less, read
yeah,
more.
yes, absolutely. Stay away from downloading books, buy books. That would be a nice, um, end note for a session that reviews contemporary fiction with writers, obviously. So, yeah, thanks, Meenakshi, Kiran, and Madhuri, for this very insightful conversation and obviously for your time this evening. I truly enjoyed this panel discussion, and I believe everyone else who is watching us or who will be watching the recorded version would also love, especially just you can pause and slow it down when you're at the point of hearing the recommendations. It's just a point. So
We'll start a Twitter thread or something, and then we can just like put in all our
Yeah,
recommendations in the thread.
yeah, we should do
absolutely,
that.
that would work, huh? That would help all our uh, viewers also. So, with this, we end the first episode titled What India Thinks, Reviewing Contemporary Fiction under Stories of India, brought to you by www.tellmeyourstory.biz. And registrations are now open for the writing program season 4, the last date of registration being 20th December 2021. And the next episode of the Stories of India season 1 will have Medha Shri, Suhel Mathur, and Siddharth Jain speaking on what India reads, reviewing contemporary literature. So till then, stay well, stay safe, stay together, though distanced. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ankita. Bye bye.